Thank you very much, Kaldor, and I know exactly what I have to say here. I was basically just eating a donut, you know, getting all comfy, and something happened for the very first time. Jeho wasn't even ready to take a replay because this game was over so fast. Guys, what happened to mYi in this very first match of the series?
Battlefield of Eternity, second Immortal, hitting 10, Sylvanas.
Yeah, I mean, that sums the entire thing up. But I feel like a lot of that came to the decision-making made by mYinsanity in the early half of the game. They decided to go on full defense while they had the Tassadar, no kill potential whatsoever. Lunara was still not 7.
Right.
They had no poke and never abused what their comp was good at.
We were back there. I was sitting next to Dread. We were watching this game, and it was just they continued to fight. Exactly what he just said, and he pointed out every single time. And every opportunity they had, Falstad dropped down, he would soak. They sent a Nubarak to the top, he would soak. And they knew that the minute they got that Immortal, because it was pretty much a given because they were fighting around at that point, it was pretty much a given. And they strategically, that lasted for a minute, 2 minutes, and they were strategical the entire way. Every move that they made was calculated, and that is execution.
And at some point, Dread was like, hey, do we have Playmaker here? What is going on? I mean, Tempest was on such momentum that they didn't even seem to care which heroic abilities picked. They just went for, I don't know, they went with the push.
To be fair, they went with Cocoon and they went with
Cocoon and Playmaker.
Is it BM or is it like
isolation?
Well, what's the #1 way that if that game goes longer and the poke that you saw and the disengage and survivability that you see on the side of mYinsanity, how do you counter that? Hard engage. Guess what does that? I don't know, a web wrap. There is no movement. And then when you get done with that, you have Haymaker to be able to get the distance like between the two. Like even that was not troll. That was just very well thought out.
You made there to point that out.
I was worried about their hard engage. Guess what? You can literally just go, well, we got it for free. You walked in our range.
I mean, we talk about pocket strats all the time. Is this a pocket strat in the sense that this is something they had planned, or is this something they just like, hey, this is the draft, this is what we're going into?
I think Cocoon, without a doubt, was planned. The Playmaker might have been because, like, we can win this game right now. You know, I don't know for sure, though.
It shocked me when I saw somebody go flying. I'm like, wait, I was like, that actually happened,
We were all back there and we were like, they're not going to end it off of this. It's not going to end off of this. But then, like, kills started happening. We're like, maybe it's going to end off of this. You were eating a donut. I put the bounty
I was
down.
just there, you know, just getting some chocolate donut.
I looked at Gilly and I said, this is going to be another 8-minute game. She's like, nah. And I'm
so
like,
did Dread, though. We both were like, no.
I thought they would have
And then they just, like,
didn't matter.
the core was gone.
Let's get back into a little bit more of a serious mode here, because I mean, this game looked very one-sided, and without a doubt it was, but now it's time to show the second battleground, and that is of course going to be Infernal Shrines, guys. Can we expect another sub 10-minute match? I don't know.
You're going to see something completely different. I
hope so. I really hope so.
Similar to what we just saw.
Yeah, I think mYinsanity, this is where they're going to pull out something creative that I don't think anybody expected. Obviously, they have the unique playstyle, but I mean, going even past that at this point. But I don't think it'll be an under 10-minute game, but we just said that it would be the clash of styles. Turns out I found out the style.
Which style works
It's an
better?
8-minute match.
And mYinsanity, they are a team that is, of course, very comfortable with offline situations. So let's just not presume that they will get shaken off by that.
First pick Rhaegar over Azul. Like that. That's interesting.
Is this the time to bust out something secret? I mean, if you're
Is
busting
your
out,
secret thing Bloodlust?
It could be. It could be.
First pick Rhaegar, last
All right.
pick somebody strange.
It's gonna be Vikings with boat bloodlusted. The blood boat's real, dude.
How does that song sound if it's like sped up?
I don't actually know. But Tempest now with the response. They have a lot of options. Typically, the Sonya Tassadar is a really strong thing out of Korea. It's slightly been altered recently to where it's not like the only response in this rotation. With Falstad off the table, I feel like we can expect them still moving into their comfort picks.
It took. This is day number 5. It took 5 days for us to finally get to see a little bit of Illidan play. We've seen it a couple times today. Illidan did not get banned again, where Kael'thas is now taking priority. I almost feel like this is something that you could pick up late game, as Wolf talked about. Instead of first picking it, pick it up later and kind of build around it and have that as a more flexible pick.
Muradin? I think it's going to be Azul or Sonya. A Tass instead, all right. If they go with the Tassadar, it's going to provide a lot of wave clear for them. I don't think Illidan is something... I think the Tassadar, like if they leave Illidan open after the second ban phase, they could look to go to it, but I don't think we can expect that MVP or Tempest will be picking it in the first rotation.
It's also less concerning for a support choke. They don't have to worry about that as much because they've got Tassadar now. So they, with seeing Rhaegar earlier picked up for mYinsanity, they can say, okay, well, we don't want to have to pick Muradin Uther here. We know we want Muradin. We'll get the Tass. it'll combo with whatever else we want to add to it once we get to the later stages.
That might even be taken away from maybe one of those secret strategies that mYinsanity was going to come up with. And maybe they felt that Tassadar might make it through to allow somebody like an Uther to be picked up or some strangeness. But Lunara, never a bad pick here.
Is it time to go back to something that was actually successful against Dignitas? Maybe the Diablo frontliner, for example. I mean, on Infernal Shrines is not a bad choice.
They did their comfort picks. They had everything they wanted, and they got beat in an 8-minute game. Is it time to switch up strategies? Is it time to adapt?
I personally would like to see them do that. But I mean, they hold heavily onto the Lunara again, and then hovering over the Sylvanas. A little different from mYinsanity here. I don't believe they typically are taking Sylvanas this high in the rotation. They worry about other heroes. They are hit or miss on that.
I almost feel like Sylvanas, it's almost, do we take it now to keep it out of Tempest hands? Because during the next rotation, it seems like it. And this is another one to where Sylvanas really, amplifies the objective when that Punisher comes out.
I feel like they're in a situation, though, where their next ban phase is going to be really difficult no matter what. You either give Tempest the Sonya Tassadar on Infernal Shrines that they love, or you give them the Illidan Tassadar.
Greymane's still out there as well.
I mean, yeah, Tempest is literally just picking decent heroes across the board that you haven't banned or picked enough to deny in the first half of the rotation that they're going to have a very scary turn here.
Would it be too risky to go for a hero like Kerrigan? I mean, Naventic pulled it out yesterday, and they were relatively successful with it, especially on Infernal Shrines.
I mean, they can, but when you have as many options as Tempest, I feel like has up right now, if their next two picks, if they're going to pick it, I think it would be last pick. And then mYinsanity definitely could, but without very much follow-up burst directly, I feel like it would be a really risky choice, especially because you need to make sure Lunara survives,
right?
And you can't baby the Kerrigan as well.
With Tychus being banned out, I mean, obviously that's something we see a lot more in the Korean scene, that Tychus. Maybe that's a strategy, or maybe it's something that they're just trying to look at. Greymane, in this instance, I like Greymane a lot more than I like Illidan.
It could also pave the way for a double warrior pickup later on. I mean, if the Tychus is out of the way, the biggest tank shredder is no longer there.
Right, and Tychus this is probably his most played map when they pick him. It's this one, Battlefield of Eternity, and then Cursed Hollow. Seeing Tychus, knowing that Tassadar is here too, a lot of times the Korean teams like to add Tassadar with Tychus just to make sure that he can stay alive a bit easier. But Greymane still has fantastic damage for those shrines too, so I don't think Tempest is too upset with getting Tychus banned against them.
This draft going so much slower than the one we had last time. Both teams were so quick to grab their picks. Sonya, Greymane with a Tassadar Dread, you're shaking your head because you know they just struck cold with that.
Well, not only that, they have exactly what they want, but now they're going to also...
What? Oh, there it is! There it is! That is why they first picked Ringo.
Oh my God!
The cheese.
And
Sorry,
immediately
I'm
the
getting so
Kharazim follow-up. Can you believe it? This is insane. This is the first time ever since the spring season that we have seen Cho'Gall entering the stage here in a big tournament, guys.
Is this like pocket strat, or is this fear? And we're reverting back.
If you're going out, go out big. Even if they lose, they still have.
Well,
Cho'Gall is very big.
Right?
That is true.
But the instant Kharazim pickup, 7-sided strike absolutely destroys him, because 7-sided strike, remember, is a percentage of health done in terms of damage, and that's why we oftentimes see Kharazim against a Cho'Gall.
It was really perfect that they had left their support pick up until the end there to flex depending on what they saw. If it was an Illidan, then they maybe could have Brightwing. But seeing Cho'Gall come out very quick on the card.
And now the first pick, Rhaegar, makes so much more sense because you are dependent on the Earth Shield at level 13.
Yeah, they absolutely needed it for their composition, so it makes sense that they would change their prioritization so heavily, especially since mYinsanity has always not feared the support choke. And then one thing I do fear, though, is that Tempest has the TAS, then they also have the Kharazim, which are one of the best double pairings with Tassadar when it comes to the supports, but then also into a Lunara, his AoE healing is going to be just insane. There isn't the most amount of cleansable CC that exists on the side of mYinsanity, so that's going to be an Echo of Heaven at 7. They have really good responses to a lot of the picks that mYinsanity's gotten.
Definitely agree. And Jehao, I can't wait to hear your prediction for this potentially deciding game 2 here.
I like one team more than the other, but I'm putting the trust in Cho'Gall. Give me mYinsanity.
Dread.
8-minute game says Tempest. You got this.
Oh boy, and Gilly, last but not least.
I'm sticking with my Tempest choice from before and saying that they're going to 2-0 this.
All right, and I'm gonna.
Will you be my Gall?
I got you. I'll be your Gall, man. So definitely rooting in favor of mYinsanity. They can do it. I'm sure it will be an upset and a really cool surprise for sure. For now, though, Kaldor, make sure to send some of your German energy and try to balance it out against Wolf, because I know he will be rooting for Team Tempest. So guys, take it away one more time.
I'll definitely do that, Kendrick. Thank you very much. Wolf, of course, had a lot of fun in the first game, no doubt about it. But we had a very surprising draft, and it's a bit old school for mYinsanity, and I like it. Even if they lose here, they go out with a bang.
Absolutely, Kaldor. Well, why don't you introduce this European team to us? And it's going to be hard to believe what you're about to say, but you're going to say it.
Yep, we have mYinsanity running Blumby on Gal and Tartmok on Joe. I am loving this. Rega played by Splendor, Nurok on Lunara here today, and we have HOTS on Sylvanas.
And somewhat of a rare occurrence, we're going to see Lockdown play Sonya, and Honkono will play Murda again. Hyde on Karazim, Duck playing Tassadar, and Dami going on the Assassin Greymane.
Now, right off the bat, there's of course a few things that we definitely have to talk about with the composition here. First of all, one of the things that's going to be very important later on is that Greymane can go into the Alpha Killer to get the percentage damage against Cho'Gall. That's going to be a huge asset for them. They also have with Hyde's Karazim the option to go into the Severed-Sided Strike, which of course it can be great, but to make that happen, you need to isolate Cho'Gall from the rest of the team to get certain value out of it. If you want to do that, then we have to look for Tassadar again. The Force Wall has to be on point, and then the Karazim follow up. That's what Tempest is going to be looking for.
And that's what I'm worried about for mYinsanity, because how many Force Walls have we seen today that were godlike from Duck to actually force this to happen? I can't even count them probably on two hands, what we saw in the earlier series versus X Team. That isolation that he brings with Force Wall is incredible. So it's really all about positioning for mYinsanity to make sure they're moving in such a way that even if a Force Wall goes down, they can disengage from it and not allow Cho'Gall to get stuck.
Now, I want to shed a little bit of light on why they chose Cho'Gall here, since this is one of the picks that a lot of people will probably not really be familiar with. Cho'Gall shines on small maps, and he shines on maps where you have a single objective spawning on the map. Infernal Shrines is a map where we are always fighting over the Infernal Shrines, over the Punishers. So you're forced onto a single point that you're trying to control, and this is where Cho'Gall can force the fight. Normally against Cho'Gall, you're trying to rotate away from him, you're trying to outmaneuver him, since the opponent is only 4 heroes, 4 bodies in the game. But on Infernal Shrines, this becomes a lot more difficult.
Absolutely. Oh, one thing I want to point out is the bait attempt here by Tempest to grab a pick here at this first shrine. Looks like they're just waiting for that rotation. It doesn't come, though. mYinsanity is not going to fall for this. Honkono's actually going to dive in regardless, though. They're not going to find any value here. mYinsanity way too careful. Cho'Gall is in position. Lockdown is actually winning the top lane, meanwhile, which is a bit surprising versus Sylvanas.
Yeah, so talking Sylvanas for a moment, Sylvanas is also very important that they picked it away from Tempest, because Cho'Gall oftentimes becomes stronger and stronger as the game continues, since he gains a lot more survivability. Once you have Molten Core and you can actually just like dodge things like the 7-sided strike, you're in a much better position. So early on in the game, mYinsanity could retreat depending on the situation in the match and just say like, guys, play it safe, buy some time, we're good to go in the later stages. That's what they're going to be looking for, but right now they're fighting over the Shrine Wall.
Yeah, something else I want to point out too is really if you have Sylvanas on the side of Tempest, Cho'Gall, because he has one body in 2 members, he's actually not able to rotate as much, have as much lane presence, so you can get pushed pretty hard. We'll be going to have to retreat here. And Honkono going in for the stun. A lot of damage already done here to Cho'Gall, but he's got the poke.
And you might have already seen that healing ward coming to play. That's, of course, that healing totem. Rega using that because he knows that it's going to gain huge value with Cho'Gall in play. But now we have Tempest locking down the first Immortal. It was kind of to be expected if you face the Cho'Gall composition. mYinsanity has played this hero, by the way, a lot in the past, to an extent where they even forced target bans out of opposing teams.
That's right. Even in the regional we had at Katowice long ago, that was when it was most famously used, actually, versus Dignitas and other teams as well. Very, very impressive Cho'Gall play. Right now, obviously, like you said, this is pretty normal for the first Punisher to go against a Cho'Gall team. One thing I want to point out is the slam build that we have coming out from Sonya. Extra damage coming out onto her seismic slam onto single target. So that's something else that's going to be important. Later on, obviously the range that we will most likely see from Greymane allows him to do a lot of poke, so he's going to have to be well protected here. And that healing totem that you mentioned is so important to keep his health high, because if he starts getting poked down, he has to hearth, and that's 2 gone instead of 1.
Exactly. This is already an amazing match. Like, I cannot wait for this to really progress into like the second, the third, the fourth Shrine phase. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. But the Korean team here, they had an amazing first map. They took mYinsanity down under 10 minutes. It was incredible. The value of Sylvanas alone was so huge, and mYinsanity never got the chance to really capitalize on this Lunara that you mentioned, Wolf, is something that the Koreans were concerned about.
Also, one thing I just want to mention too is we saw Hong Kong stand right next to Wisp and not deal with it. It's like, is Korea really like that? Not used to playing against Lunara. Is Hong Kong like wanting him to see him? I don't think so. I think he was just not even thinking about the Wisp. Just some things that we see like that. Okay, here we go. Force wall not up yet, but they're actually going to dive onto Cho'Gall here. Escape.
Look at these talent choices. Wizened Duelist has been taken once again for Greymane, but the more important thing, we have the Splintered Spear in this case for Lunara, making adjustments here, going away from the Nature Sculling already with the style of play, especially on level 7. Lunara has a lot of great options, and at the same time, we're seeing now Power Surge taken for for Dartmoor. We have Edge of Madness taken as well. Cho'Gall is going to start and get a lot more value, a lot more power as the game continues now.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this choice at level 7 with the Wizened Duelist. If you get takedowns, Cho'Gall is 2 takedowns, and if you're careful and you don't die, then obviously you're going to start to get stacks, and that's going to be very important later on. But the range is still so powerful for the poke. Interesting choice here. And again, Cho'Gall not something we see very often in the Korea regions, which is why this is such an important and awesome place to use him.
Yeah, here comes the stun. They're going for Rhaegar. Splendor gets away, goes for the well, taps quickly, and moves back in. Is already starting up once again with those heals, and we are seeing just the poke from the outside. Thanks to Cho'Gall. HOTS is also bursting another wave away. The teams are working towards the next level, but a lead in minion stacks for Team Tempest.
We actually see Wave the 100 Fist coming out instead of Cleanse or even the Echo of Heaven that you were mentioning as well on Karazim. So that's interesting. Just some more extra damage here. They want to blow up single targets. Look, Paswabs is who they're going for here. He does get away. Lockdown on the retreat here as well.
Does a good job here. Carries him with a lot of healing power in these fights right now, keeping the sustain up for his team. Cho'Gall up at the front again. Darumbi is doing whatever they can do. Once again, they're looking at Lockdown here, who's very confident in his Sonya abilities, of course. Yeah, Tug at the side with the Tassadar still zoning a bit, but the Korean team is doing great on the Shrine.
Oh, it looks like they're going to commit to it, actually. They're not planning on retreating. They want to get this Punisher, and it looks like they're going to force the mYinsanity team back together. Lockdown does get away with that spear, and they will win this. Cho'Gall very, very low here. Tommy narrowly escapes as well.
Oh, the kill against Karazim. They try to go for Domi, but Cho'Gall had to retreat, and again the Punisher taken by Tempest, but the fight isn't over, Wolf.
Oh, Naruk is in some serious trouble. He goes down, but Tommy will go down with him, but Splendor in trouble as well. 80 hit points left. He does escape. A Lockdown goes down. Hokono picks up another kill. It's a bloodbath here, but this is obviously a huge advantage for Tempest with the Arcane Punisher pushing the top lane.
Level 10 just around the corner. Kills everywhere. Once again, the jump in, and Dartmoor moves away together with Blumby out of this situation. They're still trying to push as much as they can. A lot of kills happening, and we are going to see an insta replay. Look at this beautiful fight up here.
Oh man, Naruk does barely go down there, and Honkono is on the chase, and we just see a bloodbath as Lockdown tries to go in there and secure the kill. They want to get Cho'Gall so badly, but it just does not happen.
Wolf, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really waiting for these late game fights where Cho'Gall is finally, he reaches his last form. He's turning Super Saiyan, and he's really just showing his power. But now we have talents picked for Tempest on 10 that are going to help the team a lot to deal with Cho'Gall.
Yeah, we have Hammer of Twilight coming up now as well for Cho'Gall. That's going to be what they've chosen already here. But one thing I do want to point out that's hidden so far is Haymaker is not chosen. And actually, as soon as I say that, it is chosen. And that's a double elimination if you can hit it on Cho'Gall. Splendor gets Haymakered, and he will go down.
Splendor is just barely trying to stay, not making it though. Haymaker, Force Wall, great isolation tools to use the 7-sided strike. But mYinsanity with some beautiful picks here as well. They went Leaping Strike. This game is becoming sexier by the minute. Great talents, great heroes, a great draft, and we have two top teams fighting against each other.
A Leaping Strike, something we've seen in Korea only out of the player Darvish, who used to be on Team Heroes, now on MVP Miracle. And is something that we've seen very, very rarely in Asia, but it's very exciting to see it here in this moment because it's going to allow Lunar to constantly be relevant and up in the front lines and can also avoid things like Force Wall.
Exactly. And another thing that we have to point out is, of course, that low cooldown on Haymaker, 40 seconds. It is incredible how often you can use that tool. And we've been talking at the beginning of the game how you're trying to isolate Shogal so that you can use 7-sided strike and get max value out of it. And this is exactly what Muradin is going to look out for.
I'm really curious to see how mYinsanity is going to try to force this late game because they have to be insanely careful with this because if they lose one team fight, things are going to snowball out of control. If they, they don't have Sylvanas against them this time, but I just feel like if you lose Cho'Gall, things snowball because 7-sided strike is there. You've got Haymaker and Wrath of Berserker. You go in and also the reset potential on Greymane. And this is a team that dives like crazy. As we're already seeing, they're setting up for that isolation on Cho'Gall.
Yeah, it couldn't be more. Oh, Splendor eats the Stormbolt. Yeah, taking a bullet here for HOTS was walking past Muradin. Well played here. Shogal again with a poke and Domi actually a lot of damage on him already.
Yeah, and this is already a huge advantage here on the Shrine for Tempest. It looks like mYinsanity is going to split and soak here as well, and even going to do a strong push up here. HOTS comes up to deactivate these towers, and they're going to push down for that. Well, looks like they're just deciding they can't stop this. They're going to let it go. They don't have a huge pushing power behind this Tempest, that is, because they don't have Sylvanas. They really don't have a strong specialist to push lanes with, so they're not terrified of Punishers here in this mid game.
Gonna be a trade as the teams are looking for level 13. A huge value with Sonya on the Shrine, another Punisher that is given up by mYinsanity. They make a conscious choice here and they're saying, we need level 13 before we can force anything here. And now they have Molten Core. That's a huge advantage for Shogun. It's a great tool to stay alive.
Yeah, it's gonna be basically saved most likely for the 7-sided strikes, just to make sure that you can actually outlast that and survive. And a lot of damage already done here to Tempest. The Punisher isn't here yet, as Duck is looking for hospital and he will find him, and that's going to really stop the pushing power. It's going to make this push a lot stronger because Sylvanas isn't here to help defend.
That was a beautiful move, and that's 3 bodies down at the bottom now. HOTS once again has to dodge here as we see Tassadar up at the top. He wants to go to the bottom. The Punisher is pushing in. They have everything they need right now. The survivability with the Earth Shield on Rhaegar also strong. He can really help out Shogal up at the front line. Shadow Ball Volley is activated. Here comes the 7-sided. Where's the heal? Molten Core is popped. We see Ancestral going through, and Shogal is still alive.
And Lockdown's in some serious trouble here, taking so much damage, trying to escape here. Karzim is the first to fall, and 2 dead already for Tempest. They dive for this keep, and will they even get it? They will, just barely, but it's 3 dead in order to do so. They're going to get the top fort as well, but I think this was a good trade for mYinsanity, all things considered, and they could do a lot more counter pressure from this as well.
The keep down, of course, gives a lot of chance now to Tempest later on in the game to maybe end this with another Punisher, but now there's a lot of momentum, and we all know what happens if you have 3 heroes down and your opponent is running a Sylvanas.
Exactly, and that's what I'm talking about. So yes, mYinsanity was probably going to lose that keep no matter what, but at least they got kills with this, and they secured those. They did a nice team fight, and they're going to get this fort with this push as well, and we'll see how far they can go. Meanwhile, really risky moves by Dami. Looks like he's trying to force them to get off of this fort, but they're not going to go for the bait.
There's one thing that I also want to highlight. In that last fight, what we saw was Bloomby completely isolated. He ate the full power of the 7-sided strike. Rhaegar was even a bit late to the party with the Ancestral, with the Earth Shield. He still survived. He popped the Molten Core. Rhaegar was ready. And even with him being a bit late, Shogal was safe. And we all saw what happens if you can't take him down and you try to.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of players about this, and it seems like some people are really divided on whether or not 7-sided strike is that much of a direct counter to Cho'Gall because Molten Core just allows you to survive and escape there. And if you have Rhaegar, he just allows you to come right back up to full health. So it's like, okay, well, you used your heroic. I used one for that, but a lot of dive is spent on Cho'Gall. He's a huge tank. He absorbs so much damage, and I think that's basically what we saw in that last fight. It was like the idea that Tempest had of, okay, we blew him up. We've got this. But no, they were wrong.
I totally agree with you here. I feel like if you play Karazim, like oftentimes people think about 7-sided as a hard counter to Cho'Gall, and it adds a lot of value if you get the isolation, but it's not like you pick Karazim and all of a sudden you're safe. You still have to really work for the kill.
That's right. And a good Cho'Gall player is never going to get caught in such a way that after the 7-sided strike, he goes down. A big push in the bot lane that will force him to go down and deal with that.
Yeah, we also have now Heavy Impact chosen on level 16, by the way. Huge talent to be taken here also for Muradin now. Healing static on 13. So you can really tell that the talents are adjusted to the composition that Tempest is facing.
Yeah, let's see what this next Punisher gets done here. Because with the top lane push, mYinsanity is going to have to clear this very, very quickly. They will deal with the Shaman, but already Sonya is on that Shrine. And ooh, look at this. Dami. Everyone is waiting to try to get a pick here on the rotation, and Nurok is the target for now. A missed Stormbolt, however. There's a nice force wall.
Really good silence, but the blow against Sylvanas, and that's exactly what Tempest needed. The early kill, 7-sided, is being used. Second kill against Lunara. A beautiful flank by Tempest. Rega goes down. mYinsanity completely caught off guard here. It was looking pretty decent at first, but this flank from Tempest was just exceptionally well executed.
That's the isolation you need. That's the kill that allows you to isolate, because if you're fighting 5v5, it's so hard to get Cho'Gall alone, and they didn't even kill him. They didn't want to. They were just going to ignore him. The longer the fight goes on, if you're the surviving team, Cho'Gall gets a lot of value, but if he's alone, it doesn't matter. You just kind of ignore him like a tank. He might get the kill on Dami.
Talking value! He nearly gets it!
I think he will. It's so close.
What? Oh
Duck
my
drops the
God,
shield.
that was a close call there for sure. But yeah, coming back to your point here, it was really mYinsanity. They have to avoid to getting flanked like this. They have the Wisp, and you saw him come in, but still Tempest took the chance, and they were rewarded. Now they're going to get another Punisher, and whereas mYinsanity is still at a level where they can come back into this, they cannot be allowed to make another mistake like it, or they will be punished by Tempest. This is not a team you can make mistakes against.
Yeah, it almost feels like they thought they were going to be winning more Punishers. When you look at the Leaping Strike from Lunara, that hasn't really been able to accomplish anything for him. It's always too risky to actually commit to that, so that's a lot of lost damage on the side of mYinsanity. Now, I do think they will be able to defend this, and they might be able to stop the keep, but if they lose this keep here, 2 keeps down, it looks very dire for them, so they're going to have to pull something together here, Keldor, or they may just be defeated.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, they were totally willing to give up a few of the Punishers, but the last 2 that we saw, and especially this one, that was supposed to be theirs, and it's not. So right now, they have to first of all defend and make sure that they don't lose the second keep, and right after that, they have to start and force a few fights here. Hazorp's already in position once again, and he went on 13, of course, for the Windrunner. Here comes that fight, but the keep is at half hit point. Their Punisher is down, silence is there, they're trying to engage.
This is the silence that they needed, and this is actually going to save their keep. It's going to force Tempest to get out of here, to disengage. Can they actually force the fight? Down goes that dagger onto Duck, but it looks like everyone is going to escape. Nurok alone can't push this by himself, and look, already the bot lane is continuing to be pushed, and the problem with this for mYinsanity is, yes, they survived, they did save their keep, which is huge. That's what they needed to do. Now Merc control is going to go straight to Tempest.
And look at the kills. It's 6 kills against 6, so mYinsanity, they're in the spot where they want to be. They lost heroes before the last real Shrine fight started. They want to fight the team fights right now. They want to move as 5 or 4, depending on how you look at it. And they want to make sure that, and this is exactly what they need to avoid. HOTS is taken down. It is beautiful how Tempest is exploiting the weaknesses of this composition, and mYinsanity is struggling to get the fights that they're looking for.
And this might actually be too much. This might be game ending if they lose Cho'Gall here. Look at this isolation again. The Molten Core goes down. Nice Ancestral here, but it's only going to keep him alive for a little while here. Duck does isolate Splendor. Not able to get the kill, but this is just not a fight that mYinsanity wants to take without Sylvanas.
They waited for a long time with the Ancestral. They didn't want to use the cooldown. They know that another Punisher is going to be announced soon, and Tempest is looking for level 20. And to be absolutely honest with you, I believe that if level 20 is now hit and the Shrine is announced, then mYinsanity might be forced into a fight that they are not going to be comfortable with.
Yeah, they're going to have to take a fight. They're going to need a miracle, and all that lost damage from Lunara's Leaping Strike that hasn't done much for it here is something that's a really big concern for me. All right, level 20 is right about to be hit. The Punisher is going to be announced soon again at full Merc control. To Tempest. mYinsanity is going to have to spend some time clearing that. This is almost guaranteed a Punisher for Tempest. mYinsanity needs a miracle right now, Keldor. Let's see if they can pull it off. This is not the way to start it.
Yeah, great play actually by Blumby. Dodging that, it was extremely well done, but they still have the cooldown on Ancestral. Blumby is moving away, but that was a very nice dodge, and he's actually waiting. He is waiting for Muradin with a jump. Muradin is so low, but that's the shield, that's the heal, and he survived.
That was a close call on both sides there. And Ancestral still 30 seconds away, something they absolutely need in order to win this team fight. But level 20 being reached, of course, the upgrade for 7-side strike. Even the better force wall coming down here for Tastar, such a smart move. And of course, the resets on the rewind for Muradin to get secondary stuns. Without all these level 20 talents for mYinsanity, it's going to be almost impossible for them to win this fight, but they still have to try for it. They have to try to get a miracle win here in the fight.
And they're doing it. They're already on the move. They get a lot of minions here. They're attempting to make something happen. There's the force spot. There's that jump. Molten Core. Ancestral is up. Ancestral is up. And he hits it. But once again, the 7-sided. And that is the end of Cho'Gall. And it might be the end of mYinsanity as Tempest jumps in for kill after kill. They lose Greymane, but they're on Lunara.
Let's see if Lunara can escape here. Maybe grab a kill on lockdown. There's the rewind used to secure the kill. And that will be game here. 4 down for mYinsanity. And Tempest is going to take the winner's match 2-0. A dominant performance yet again from one of our Korean teams.
And bunny hop on Muradin. There's the haymaker. They want Splendor. He's rushing away, but he's the only survivor here. And that core is going to fall. Amazing play by Tempest. mYinsanity looking much better in the second game than they did in the first, but the Koreans were too strong. They exploited the weaknesses of the composition that mYinsanity was using, and they made all the right moves. Beautiful play by the Korean team, and a well-deserved victory on Infernal Shrine.
I think the biggest thing to really take note of here by Tempest is they played against compositions that are never seen in their region. They did their homework. They knew how to play against this. They did some scrimming. They were prepared to deal with a composition that we've never once seen in this season of Super League, the tournament they qualified through this for.
To be honest, we don't see that in Europe anymore either.
That's true. This is true.
I can't even remember when I saw Shogal the last time.
But this is mYinsanity trying something new. They already defeated Dignitas last time they met, and they will have this rematch opportunity. So even though they lost here in the winner's match, they do have a second chance. But it is our third Asian team to advance.
I really feel that they had their chances in the second game, but what really destroyed those chances was Tempest playing so well. Killing Hazorps on the rotation, they knew they had to do something before the Shrine spawns. They couldn't take the 5 versus 5 versus Cho'Gall. That comp is so strong. They knew if they isolate a hero before it happens, that's their best chance of winning the game. They waited, and they took the opportunity, and they were rewarded for it. It was a very intelligent play.
Duck's isolation out of control. The 7 side strikes there, even the haymaker. But before we get too deep on this, we're going to leave it to our panelists. So Kendrick, please take it away.
Cheers, Wolf. So good news, I got to finish my donut here. Bad news, though, mYinsanity is down to the deciders match, and they will have to face Dignitas once more. So we have another version of the European grudge match. And guys, I mean, we've seen Cho'Gall for the very first time here in this tournament, and ever since, you know, a very long time. Because let's be honest, as Calder pointed out, we haven't seen that big ogre like nearly in any region. And did it really have any effects? That's debatable. I just think, you know, they just wanted to hide maybe another draft. They just wanted to have fun. Gilly, what is your point on that?
It's hard. It's hard to tell if this was like a big strategy that they were waiting to bring in, or if it was them trying to revert to something that they used to do a lot. Or like maybe this will throw them off, because how often does Korea have Cho'Gall? I actually hope we get to ask that question, because that's something I really want to know.
I think it was them with the strategy. I think they like to have that creativity in the pocket strategies and the unique approach that they're so famous for. That was, yes, an old strategy for them, but something they haven't done in a while. I don't think it was so much hiding. It was genuinely like, we think we can catch them off guard with this.
So we can say it was pretty much a Hail Mary, right? You go for it and you win in glorious fashion, or you go down and you try again against Team Dignitas JL.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a... I kind of like what Kendrick said. It hides maybe some of their other strats, and it's something that allows them to do. So it's kind of like a twofold approach. I mean, again, they're going up against the team that they just dominated just earlier today. Yeah. So I don't think it's out of the question that they might have a few more strategies up their sleeve. But I know Dignitas said that they do as well. So.
Yeah. Why don't you jump to the first replay, JL?
I think this is where we're going to talk about Cho'Gall himself. Now, let's just pause it real quick. Oftentimes, it's a matter of isolating Cho'Gall. Well, there's a counter approach to it, especially when you have somebody like Tassadar, who's going to be right here. Now, let's go ahead and run this forward. We're going to see a nice force wall come right there. And instead of isolating Cho'Gall, you isolate the rest of the team. Look at how hard they dive, and they instantly blow up Sylvanas. Cho'Gall trying to do whatever he can. A lot of poison damage going out, but Rhaegar, he's going to drop. And it's just like the focus fire. Instead of focusing on Cho'Gall, why not just focus on the rest of the team? And that's exactly what they did. They rotated down. They were able to secure those kills. The Ancestral landed to keep Cho'Gall alive. He just wasn't able to do enough, and that's one of the biggest problems that you have with Cho'Gall.
I look at the draft of mYinsanity, and I see that they get Sylvanas, they get Cho'Gall. They know Cho'Gall can just spam his abilities and try to clear out the shrine so that they can get a lot done with Sylvanas. But every time they lost the team fight. Did they ever win a shrine? Did they ever get the objective? And that's one of the core problems with getting Sylvanas on one of these maps like this is like, yes, you can get her for the objectives, but if you don't win them, you don't get that
tough
effect.
Spot to be in.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you also want to make sure to utilize Sylvanas' biggest strength, which is, of course, pushing and disabling buildings at some point. You can't just be sitting team fighting 24/7, especially if those team fights don't look too good.
I was also really surprised by the Lunara build in a lot of
Leaping
ways.
strike.
Yeah, and even with like 1,000 Fists taking it 7 would make, which I thought was going to be an echo of heaven. Now it seems like it gained more value by getting spread damage than it did by concentrating on the single target that we got out of the Leaping Strike. And also, I feel like just Nature's Calling in general to get some threat onto the shrine outside of just Cho'Gall.
All right, J-Ho, we are ready, of course, to jump right into replay number 2.
Well, we saw what happens when you isolate the team. Now let's go ahead and look at what's happening now. Cho'Gall's actually by himself, and we're going to see Tassadar one more time. Let's just throw up a wall and keep you here, Blumby. Or that's a big combination there. But you can see the follow-up damage. Let's pause it real quick. Now, things look good with the focused fire coming in from Tempest, but at the same time, 3 seconds away from 7-sided strike. He is trying to hold on to whatever he can. The rest of mYinsanity rotating down. We'll roll it forward here real quick. But this is Tempest continuing to follow up. The Molten Block does come in, but the minute he does, the rest of the team is going to pounce. And the Ancestral is there, but 7-sided strike. I don't know how many times I just drew there, but that's exactly what they were holding on to. They finished Cho'Gall, and that allowed them to pretty much finish the game from there on out. So nice isolation of the team, nice isolation of Cho'Gall. Just well played there by Tempest.
And we're now being joined by Hyde, of course, from Team Tempest. And once again, congratulations on taking down mYinsanity, considered to be one of the stronger European teams here. And my first question is to you, Hyde. You formed a team with your brother, who came all the way from MVP Black. What did it mean to you that he took this very big step just to play with you on the big stage?
네, 일단 하이드 선수 그 마인세티의 승리 거두신 거 축하드리고요. 그 첫 번째 질문은 그 하이드란다. 락다운 선수가 그 MVP 블랙에서 뭐 같이 플레이하려고 나왔는데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시나요?
일단 동생이 저를 굉장히 좋게 생각해주고 있는 것 같아서 정말 좋았고, 지금도 이제 동생이랑 같이 슈퍼리그를 우승하고 이렇게 챔피언십 하고 이게 정말 기쁜 것 같아요.
So I really appreciate the fact that my brother actually made that choice for me. He speaks very high. He thinks very highly of me, and I love the fact that we just won the Super League finals and now we're here. Like, it's just great.
All right, and both Lockdown and Hyde, of course, played a wonderful game. Now, just coming from the more general aspect, why don't we talk a little bit more about the talent builds? Because when the Cho'Gall is in the game, you're bound to see cool talent builds and choices. So, Gilly, take it away.
So yeah, my question is not necessarily about talents, but just have they really ever like faced a Cho'Gall before? How often do they run, or does he run into a Cho'Gall in Korea?
그 이번에 이 경기에서 초갈이 나왔는데요. 그 한국에서 경기할 때나 뭐 스크림 할 때나 초갈을 많이 만나나요?
아니요, 그 초갈이 나오게 돼서 좀 굉장히 당황스럽긴 했는데 이제 저희 팀에 원래 초갈을 좋아하던 선수가 둘 있어가지고 상대를 잘했던 것 같아요.
We don't really see much Cho'Gall play in Korea, or we've hardly ever faced Cho'Gall, so we were surprised at the pick. But we have two players who are very fond of Cho'Gall, so it was kind of easy to play against them.
All right, and Dread, last but not least, go for your question.
I was curious about the thought process behind Haymaker in both of the games.
그 1경기, 2경기 둘 다 그 홍건호 선수가 초강타를 선택했잖아요, 궁극기를. 그거에 대해 그걸 왜 그걸 선택했는지 묻고 싶어요.
적 딜러들이 이제 실바나스랑 루나라였는데 무라딘 앞 점프만으로는 물기 힘들 것 같고, 만약에 CC기가 좀 더 있으면 좋겠다고 해서 팀원들한테 물어보고 이렇게 찍게 되었어요. 근데 좋은 선택이었던 것 같아요.
So they had Sylvanas and Lunara, which are very slippery heroes. So we thought it wasn't enough just for Murden to just jump in. So we got Haymaker to provide more CC for those guys. And feels good to win.
All right. Thank you very much, Hyde, and best of luck on your future path. And actually, congratulations on making it all the way to the playoffs, because the winner match was the deciding factor, and Tempest will now be the first team to join MVP Black, of course, there as well. All right, guys. So we now have a little bit of an announcement to make as well. Of course, there is an updated bracket, right? So let's actually take a look at what it looks like right now. Once again, Tempest is through it. I mean, the Korean region, again, looking very strong and definitely not disappointing their fans, including Wolf over here. He is smiling like a happy little baby. Of course, though, we still have one more best of 3 to go, and it is going to be the rematch between Dignitas and myi. Only one European team can make it out of this group phase. And who is it going to be? It is the question of the evening.
I think it's about to get weird.
Oh, in the last 5 matches now, mYinsanity won 3, Dignitas have won 2. Do they tie it up again?
There's so much at stake here in the fact that it's familiar foes duking it out. Both of them said, hey, we've got stuff prepared for the other team. Are we going to see that? We already just saw Cho'Gall. The hype level is growing as the day goes on. And the fact that we have both of these teams squaring off, I think we're about to have a show, guys.
Definitely. So make sure to actually join the discussion on Twitter as well and use the hashtag HGC. I mean, come on, guys. Now it's time to let us know who you think is going to advance and join Tempest all the way to the playoff stage coming in from Group B. Also, make sure to pay special attention to a special offer that Blizzard has got going. It is the Play All Heroes for free. June 24 until June 27th, of course, is the time frame where you get to play all the heroes you can ever imagine and that you always wanted to check out. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Also, once again, big shout out to the Score esports app. I mean, you cannot ask for anything more if you check out this app. You want to stay up to date in everything that is related to esports and Heroes of the Storm, of course. So, guys, without further ado, hey, why don't you stay here and listen and be back when we are about to announce Dignitas and mYinsanity, guys. I am excited, and I hope you are as well. Stay tuned.